Hey guys, welcome back to World of Tanks. My name is Bruce and today I want to showcase the best free-to-play tanks in World of Tanks. Stop giving wargaming your money, just grind these tanks and let the fun begin. World of Tanks has seen quite a power creep, especially on tier 8 where new premium or reward tanks have been flat out better than their tech tree counterparts. However, there are still some sweet spots in the game, and in this video I will not only show you good free-to-play tanks, but the rare ones which are really close to being overpowered. With these tanks you are more than competitive and you will be able to slap all those money spenders without spending any money in World of Tanks. And no, it's not going to be the KPZ Erich Concept 1. But just stay tuned. I will show you my 3 top recommendations just in a second. So what are the absolute sweet spots? Let's jump right into some gameplay. Alright, first game, we spawn on Mannerheim Line, and the first tank that I want to recommend if you want to grind the battle pass as fast as possible is the Cruiser Mark IV. It's a British tier 4 light tank, and in my opinion it is one of the strongest tanks tier for tier in World of Tanks that you can play completely for free. So why is this tank so strong? Well, this tank does have an autoloader gun on tier 4. Your alpha damage is 60, which is not very high, but I mean there are other tanks on tier 4 which even have a lower alpha damage, and the point is you have an autoloader gun with 2 bursts. As you can see, there are 2 shells, but the thing is, with every burst fired, you actually fire, or this gun actually fires 2 shells. It's like with the MBTB on tier 10. So if you fire twice, you actually fire 4 shells, and this means that you can deal 240 alpha damage on tier 4. This is insane. The aim time is only 1.82 seconds, and so the dispersion of 0.41 actually does not matter too much. So you can deal 240 damage within only 1.5 seconds, as the burst damage is, the intra clip reload is 0.5 seconds, and then within 0.5 seconds this gun fires those 2 shells within 1 burst. So within 1.5 seconds you can deal 240 damage, and this is once again insane, completely nuts on tier 4. This is why this tank is so strong. Now if you load premium ammunition, you get a penetration of 112, which is certainly good enough for tier 4, which is also good enough for tier 5, and which also helps you out on tier 6. It's not an extraordinarily strong penetration value, however it is completely fine. The dispersion values of course are not very good, 0.24 during tank movement and turret tank traverse, and then 0.12 during turret traverse is actually pretty fine. Now the point with this gun is, of course, it's not a sniping gun. You will not be able to hit your shells consistently over, let's say, medium to high distance, so keep that in mind. And besides this tank, as all the other tanks, or at least 95% of the tanks on tier 4, does not have any armor whatsoever. But as I said, due to the fact that most tanks on tier 4 do not have armor, even heavy tanks, this is not a problem whatsoever. This tank is relatively mobile with 48 kph top speed and a power to weight ratio of 27.67. So a super fast tank with an insanely strong firepower, and the view range is, I would say, tier 4 normal with 340, and the camo value is actually also pretty good with about 15 while being stationary. So yeah, in my opinion, this tank is really close to being overpowered on tier 4. And keep in mind, if you play a tier 4 tank, then you only need to collect 70 points in order to get the 15-point bonus, which will even allow you to grind the battle pass even quicker. So yeah, in my opinion, this is the #1 recommendation if you want to grind the battle pass super fast. Okay, so we already made 347 damage, so let's now see what we can achieve. We have gained map control, and so now let's see where the other tanks are located. Okay, I'm spotted, so shouldn't be a surprise for the enemy tanks if I peek around the corner. This is why I do not want to do this. Let's instead fall back and maybe take a shot onto the Electo. So let's see whether he is in this position. Ah, here you go. Okay, there's a Steward taking on the fight, and of course he does not have any chance. Now another thing that I should mention is, as you can see, this tank has quite some gun depression. 15 degrees of gun depression means that it is super flexible. Plus the reload time of this whole clip is 6.71 seconds. So and this is the value with 100% cruise, so it's not the stock value, but the gun reloads super fast, like on the Skoda T50, the Czechoslovakian tier 6 tank, and also the tier 10 tank. So yeah, the combination of a fast reload, super high firepower, super fast shell or intra clip reload just makes this tank so strong on tier 4. It's a phenomenal tank, and as you can see, we already dealt 1000 damage, which is super strong for tier 4 tank. Let's see whether we can make some more damage. Okay, we can spot those tanks over there. Now it's yeah, it's not a very close distance, so not the perfect setup for this tank, but we can at least get some spotting damage. And okay, this tank is taken out. Excellent. So yeah, 1k damage on a tier 4 tank, I think, is a decent result. Now of course, if we play, or if we want to talk about the best free-to-play tanks in World of Tanks, we have to consider the M6 on tier 6, the American heavy tank, which leads to the T110E5, or nowadays to the tier 11 heavy tank of the American tech tree. Why is this tank ultra strong? And notice that we are playing in a tier 7 battle. However, I'm not afraid of all the other tier 7 tanks with this tank. So why is this tank so strong? Well, first of all, its DPM is phenomenal for a tier 6 heavy tank. 2000 base DPM is a pretty decent value. This tank deals 240 alpha damage, which is also on the higher side of a tier 6 heavy tank. Now, the good thing is that the aim time is pretty nice with 2 seconds, and the dispersion is only 0.38. This is the stock value. Plus, the dispersion factors are not too bad. 0.21 while moving the tank and yeah, during tank traverse, and 0.12 while moving the turret. So that is super strong. Now the base penetration is 260, and if you load premium ammunition, you can boost your DPM, sorry, no, your penetration to 243, and with this value you can even penetrate all tier 8 tanks in the game. This is insane. And there's another thing which is super strong about this tank, and that is its turret armor, which is 190mm. So this tank has a phenomenal DPM, it has a pretty accurate gun, it has phenomenal penetration value, and it has a turret armor with which you can play hull down, exactly what we are doing. We bounce the shot of the KB2, which is nice. And so yeah, with this tank you can play hull down. Keep in mind you have 10 degrees of gun depression, and so playing on a ridgeline like we are doing in this situation, there's nothing that can stop this tank from being super successful. And I mean, only 2 minutes in the game we already made 1500, now 1700 damage. I mean, this tells you how strong this tank is. I wouldn't be surprised if Wargaming would nerf this tank later on in 2025 or 2026. So, but as of now, it is certainly the strongest tier 6 heavy tank, and in my opinion, tier for tier, one of the best tanks in World of Tanks. Just like the Cruiser Mark IV on tier 4, this tank simply outperforms all the other tanks in the game, and it is certainly one of the strongest tanks tier for tier in World of Tanks, and it needs to be mentioned if we want to take a look at the strongest free-to-play tanks currently in World of Tanks. So if you want to grind the battle pass fast, then get this tank. With the tier 6 tank, of course, you need to achieve 100 points in order to get your 15 additional bonus points. But with this tank, you will be able to achieve those 100 points extremely fast. And yeah, definitely a recommendation. Everybody should have this tank in the garage. Plus, if you're sick of playing high tier, then go back to tier 6. In tier 6, your chance of carrying the game is much higher compared to higher tiers. And then simply play this overpowered tank. I mean, almost overpowered tank. And yeah, simply annihilate your opponents. Alright, so the game is 1. We made 2000 damage, which is pretty decent for tier 6 tank. And let's see what else we can achieve. This tank has a mediocre mobility, 35 kph top speed. I mean, it's not bad for a tier, for a heavy tank. Power to weight ratio is 70.38, which is also fine. And this tank has 1070 HP. So actually pretty good. So let's take out the Hellcat, and he will be able to take another shot, but now we can take him out. And so we now already made 2.4k damage. And there's a lot more damage that we can make in the game. So let's see. Can we take a shot onto the Jagdpanzer? No, looks like he is drowning. Okay. Yeah, I mean, after only 4.5 minutes, the game is completely over. So I can actually understand his frustration. So let's see what we can achieve against the Churchill and maybe the GW Panther. Unfortunately, yeah, those things are already on. Okay, this tank is taken out. So can we take a shot? We need to load premium, and we can take him out. Excellent. 2.6k damage within only 5 minutes. This tells you how strong this tank is for a tier 6 heavy tank. And finally, my third recommendation for the best free-to-play tank that you can play in World of Tanks is the AMX-30 first prototype. This tank is a collector's tank, so you will not find this tank in the French tech tree. However, you have to go to the collector's tank section and then purchase this tank, and then purchase all those modules, just like with the regular tech tree tanks. Now, how can you unlock this tank? You have to unlock it, yes. You have to, first of all, get a tier 9 French tank out of the French tech tree. And then once you have unlocked such a tier 9 tank, then you have access to a level 9 French collector's tank, which this tank is. So that's how you can get this tank. This tank, as it is a collector's tank, is, in my opinion, completely below the radar. This tank has a phenomenal firepower, maybe apart from its accuracy. This is why I play this tank with Bond equipment, with a Bond vertical stabilizer, as this is one of my favorite tanks overall in World of Tanks. It has 390 alpha damage, pretty standard on tier 9. However, it has a base reload time of 8.7 seconds, so a stock DPM of 2689, which is insanely strong for a tier 9 medium tank. In my opinion, the accuracy is okay, because you get 0.37 dispersion, 2.3 seconds aim times, as I said, stock, and then the dispersion factors are actually pretty decent. 0.14 with moving the tank, and then 0.12 while turning the turret. So actually pretty strong. This tank has let's say a bit lackluster penetration, 248 on the standard ammunition, which is APCR, at least lackluster compared to tanks like the Leopard PTA on tier 9. But if you load your premium shell, then you get 300 millimeters of heat penetration, which is way enough for a tier 9 tank. Now, firepower is not where the good news ends for this tank. This tank has a superb mobility. Not only does it have 65 kph top speed, it also has a pretty decent 23.42 power to weight ratio. And the terrain resistance values are also pretty strong, making this tank super mobile. Apart from the tank traverse, which is a cluster, as you could just see in this little replay. Now this tank has 8 degrees of gun depression, which is not the best value, however decent enough to play ridge lines. And then you get 390 meters of view range, plus a pretty decent stationary camo of almost 14.91 stock. So with this tank you can play vision games, you have a phenomenal DPM, and you can basically change the flank very rapidly as you have a good mobility. There's another thing which is pretty strong about this tank, and that is that not only do you have a relatively strong frontal portion of your turret with 150 millimeters of armor, which is relatively nicely angled, you also have a pretty nicely angled upper hull of your hull, as you can see here. So this tank can bounce quite some shots in the game. Now you cannot rely on the armor, therefore it is way too weak. However, you will be surprised how often you will bounce a shot, especially against players who do not know the armor profile of this tank, and also against weak players which use auto aim in World of Tanks, which I do not recommend at all. So yeah, in my opinion, this tank is like insanely strong because it has good firepower, good mobility, good camo, good view range, and then also a pretty bouncy hull and also pretty bouncy turret. So it's just an overall extremely strong tank, and it is super fun to play. So let's see what we can do. Now we want to help our team to win the hill, kind of a standard move that I conduct every time I spawn on the southern side of this map. And so let's see, let's try to peek out here. Here you go. Okay, there's the object 777. He bounces. That's what I'm talking about. And now as we get help from the pattern, we can simply annihilate this tank. Now I do not pen this shot. Here you go. He takes a shot, and as soon as the 777 has just taken a shot, we can use our phenomenal DPM in order to annihilate this Russian or Soviet heavy tank. Doesn't even look towards us, which is good. Can we track him? Nice, we can track him, and so we can even collect assisting damage. He does not turn his turret to us, so we can maybe kill him, and we leave 16 HP. But you know what? We will now be able to take him out. Excellent. And now we can advance and simply take out those tanks right here. As you can see, the T-124 is already falling back. So let's first of all kill this tank right here. Nice. Bam. We do not get shot by the other tanks. Now he's turning his hull and his turret. So we certainly do not want to peek out. Here you go, he has just taken a shot, and so now we can peek out of cover and take a shot into his lower hull. Excellent. I think it's us spotting the Griller 15, which is nice. Here you go, yeah, we get all the sweet assisting damage. Nice. As you can see, this tank is phenomenal because it is strong in every aspect, and this is why this tank, in my opinion, is much better compared to the Leopard PTA, the German Tech Tree Tier 9 tank, and also the Centurion 7-1, which is good at playing hull down, but which does not have this phenomenal DPM, and which also does not have the ability to play spotting or vision games. And this is why this tank is so strong. I have two setups for this tank, one with simply boosting the view range, and not the view range, but the overall stats with vents and with vertical stabilizer, and now of course a gun rammer, and then one with CVS, so dropping the gun rammer and not exploiting the DPM of this tank, but then with playing it with CVS so that you can outspot all the other medium tanks on tier 9. and even on tier 10. Alright, so 9 to 6. Now, that is a pretty standard result for this map. I mean, the situation in which we are right now, that our team is advancing, but we still have the problem that the adversary tanks have dug in this forest on the A lane, which is... which makes it pretty difficult to take them out. Now, as the DBV 152 is advancing, I also want to advance and I want to use my mobility and the fact that I still have 1200 HP in order to move out of cover. And unfortunately, yeah, okay, so this was not as I expected it to be. However, we can collect quite some assisting damage right now. There are only 4 tanks, 2 of which are in the forest, so I was a bit unfortunate. I should have gone a little bit deeper down into this ridgeline so that I could or so that I would not get shot from the DBV, but that's how it is. Overall, I think we still have a pretty decent result in the MX. And yeah, those 3 tanks are my recommendation, as they are the best tanks overall that you can play as a free-to-play player, in World of Tanks. Of course, if you play lower tier tanks, so tier 4 tanks and tier 6 tanks or tier 5 tanks, then you have a good possibility to grind the battle pass as fast as possible. But if you want to play higher tiers, and if you're looking for a very flexible tank, then go for the AMX 30. Alright guys, that was it for today with the video about the best free-to-play tanks. What do you think about my recommendations? Do you also adore these tanks? Do you think they are close to being overpowered? Just leave a comment in the comment section down below. And as always, if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. This really helps out with the YouTube algorithm. If you find this video extremely helpful, then feel free to support me via Super Thanks. This way you can make a one-time donation. You just have to click this button underneath the video. If you adore this channel and you want to consistently support me, then consider subscribing to my channel or become a member, once again with the click of a button underneath the video. Thanks a lot, and I see you next time in another World of Tanks video.